I want to welcome those who have stayed, and I'm just going to jump right into introducing the panel. So panel one, how we're going to do this is we will allow each panelist to spend about 6 to 8 minutes talking about the organization and the good work they do, and then we'll open the floor to questions. So please feel free to use the chat box as well towards the end of a time. Just use the little raise your hand button so I can find you and see you, and I'll call on you to unmute then. But in the meantime, if you could stay muted, that would be so helpful to us to avoid any kind of distraction. Anna, go ahead and move forward on the slides, please. So while I'm introducing folks, Anna's going to go ahead and spotlight our panel for this room, and I'm really excited to introduce the folks here. And so I'm going to start with Joseph, and forgive me if I tangle your last name. Sleepak. Joseph Sleepak is the executive director of the Broome County Council of Churches, which hosts the Greater Good Grocery. Greater Good sells food at reduced cost that had been refused by grocery stores and processed and placed it for resale at the store. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have Callie Brennan. Welcome. She's the Growth and Impact Manager of Flash Food, an app that connects shoppers with great deals on high quality groceries, including fresh produce, meat, fish, and dairy. Flash Food's retail partners populate the app with high quality groceries that are either in surplus or nearing their best by date. Welcome. I have Dusky Estes is the executive director at Farm to Pantry, a food justice organization in Sonoma County, California. So Farm to Pantry consists of 500 volunteer gleaners on 300 farms and backyards, sharing over 1.5 million servings of produce a year with marginalized families through 100+ community partners, including food banks, food pantries, low-income housing, and meal programs for the elderly, ill, and unsheltered. Welcome, Dusky. So Katie Funk is the Inspiration and Innovation Program Director at La Soup, a nonprofit based in the Cincinnati, Ohio area, focused on bridging the gap between food waste and food insecurity using a rescue model that engages professional chefs. Sammy is Executive Director at Means Database. Excuse me, Sammy Paul, I missed your last name. And Means Database is an online platform that connects organizations with excess food to communities in need. So Means helps to facilitate communication and logistical support to transport food donations and has two major goals. One, to reduce food waste and reroute excess food to those facing food insecurity. So I'm just going to say welcome to our panelists. We're so glad that you're here. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to share your insight and the neat work that you're doing. If it makes it easier, I'm probably going to call on you to introduce yourself and sort of give your little elevator pitch of what's going on, if that's helpful. And I think I'll start backwards. So I'm going to start with Sammy, if you can go first, and then Katie will have you in the wings to do next.
Awesome. Thanks so much, and really excited to be here. Thanks for putting this whole event together. My name is Sammy. I'm with Means Database. Like mentioned, we're a food recovery platform. We work nationwide. I personally am based in New York, but we have an online platform to connect excess food from businesses to those in need. This year so far, we have recovered more than 35 million pounds of food. Some of that's coming from restaurants, grocery stores, corner stores, cafes. Other parts are coming from big warehouses and farms. So we really have a wide range of what we're working on. We have a pretty small team. We were founded in 2015 in DC. And right now we have 7 people that are full-time and 7 part-time. So it's still a pretty small team, but growing from the initial 2 co-founders that we have. So that's a brief intro. Then I guess, yeah, I'll pass over to Katie.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me here. My name is Katie Funk. I'm the Director of Inspired Innovation at La Soup. La Soup is a nonprofit based in Cincinnati, Ohio. I think that was mentioned. We add a step to food rescue by employing professional chefs who are able to transform around 40% of the food that we bring in. And that way everything comes to our commissary. So it's sorted here. We compost the pieces of it that aren't good to make sure that the food going to the pantries is super dignified and meets their requirements in terms of what they're looking for. And then, so we send transformed food and then groceries, fresh groceries, just like a normal food rescue would in that way. We have roughly 100 rescue partners, that bring volunteers and staff bring food from there to our main location in Cincinnati, and then we sort it here, like I said, and then allocate it to the right program. So we work mostly on soups and meals, and then we distribute to 160 share partners, and we're able to match the food a little bit more specifically than you would in a traditional point-to-point model. This ensures that more food is utilized. It increases access to healthy and balanced meals for the roughly 15% of pantry participants who we know need a prepared meal, and the roughly 50% who would prefer to have that as a part of what they're able to pick up. In addition to the Rescue Transform Share program, we also have an education program. The core program under that is Give a Crock, where children are given a crock pot and taught how to cook inexpensive, healthy meals for their families, and those are middle school and high schoolers. They get to keep the crock pot, which is really fun. And then we also run cooking improv classes where people are taught how to use what might be leftover produce in their fridge after they make a recipe. And they also help prepare some of the food for our kitchen. And then we have some healthcare partnerships underneath our education program as well that help teach people with specific healthcare needs like diabetes or heart conditions how to cook in ways that help support their treatment. We also have a food as medicine program that develops medically tailored meals using in part rescued food that are tailored to individuals with healthcare and diabetes. Right now, we're working on developing some more pieces of that program for gestational diabetes and preeclampsia for pregnant mothers. And we're also developing partnerships for more support for children's health. And then my role is developing our Inspire program, which is a training program in partnership with another organization called Second Helpings that is based in Indianapolis that teaches other organizations in different cities how to develop a food rescue kitchen or how to grow one and develop the standards and procedures that are needed to do that safely and well and develop those partnerships. And then we're also developing a food rescue kitchen network to help connect all of the organizations that are doing this kind of work, advocate for a similar model, and share knowledge. So happy to talk more about that if anybody's interested.
Thank you, Katie. Dusky, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Dusky Estes of Farm to Pantry, and I'm in Sonoma County, California. As already stated, we mostly glean on over 300 backyards with 500 volunteers to harvest food, and we share that with 100 community partners. But we have a number of other programs, and so today what I'm here to talk about is the products that we've developed. We make a number of products to upcycle the harvest that can't be distributed fresh. So for example, olives, there are many olives in our county, and people are happy to donate them. So we make them into an olive oil that we either give away for free in distributions, or if you're a donor, you can buy a bottle as a donation. But we also make applesauce. We make a apple pear brandy with a distillery in town, and we make a apple hard cider with a cider maker in town. So we make a number of products that we can't distribute all of what we glean fresh. We harvest over 50,000 pounds of apples a year because before Sonoma County was grapes, it was apples, but there is no marketplace really for apples anymore. So tons of people have apples on their property that fall to the ground. And our food bank can't accept fresh apples because of a requirement from the USDA that they purchase apples from Washington State. So we deliver as many as we can fresh, and then we make the two products that I mentioned, actually 3 products, applesauce for our food bank, hard cider that is for sale and yields a donation for us, and a apple pear brandy that also is for sale and yields a donation for our program. We also have a Grow a Row program where we encourage people to plant food for each other, and we provide compost starts, seeds, and we advocate and work on community gardens in that program. And we have a program for kids called Farms to Snack, where we take kids out on field trips out to farms to sort of build a lifelong appreciation of the importance of eating fruits and vegetables. And then I cook with them either in their school or their after school or their summer program. So we end up using a lot of the food that we glean to cook with kids. And we have another program that's called Growing the Table that involves a grant from the American Rescue Plan. We purchased from a co-op of 80 farmers in Sonoma County, 300 CSA boxes a week that we share with under-resourced families. So that sums up Farm to Pantry in hopefully less than 6 minutes.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Dusky. I have so many questions, but I will hold on. Kelly, would you like to introduce your work and yourself?
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Callie Brannon. I'm one of the partner growth managers at Flash Food, as Gabrielle already mentioned. So I really work to make sure that our partners are able to take full advantage of what Flash Food has to offer, while also making sure the planet and the community are able to benefit as much as possible. Flash Food, again, Gabrielle did a great job introducing really what it is, but if you're not familiar, it's a free app that connects shoppers to affordable groceries in their area. So the food can be something that was surplus at the grocery store or something that's nearing its best by date, but regardless of which route it comes from, it's still high quality. And the best part is it's offered at up to 50% off the regular retail price. So while all of our partners post from a variety of their departments from the grocery store, our top selling items are really our produce boxes. They're boxes or bags full of a variety of fruits and vegetables sold for a $5 flat rate, our fresh meats and our dairy. So you can kind of think of us as a digital discount rack, but better. The reason I say better is because if you're familiar with the traditional markdown programs at grocery stores, you have to be physically in the store to take advantage of those markdowns and those deals. But Flash Food gives you the opportunity to purchase items at that reduced rate directly from your phone, which in turn saves that deal for you until you're able to get to the grocery store, which seems kind of small, but it actually opens up a really large opportunity for a lot of our shoppers to get that reduced priced food. For example, if you are somebody that works a really early morning shift, we know that typical markdown areas have that garage sale mentality where if you get there first, you're going to get the best stuff, where if you get there a little bit later, it might be kind of picked over. Where now, if you're working, you can just open up our app quickly, buy the food that you'd like from that reduced rate, and it will be held there for you to cut your grocery bill in half until you're able to get home from work. There's a lot of other examples of that. That's just one, but you're able to get that reduced price food while also keeping food out of the landfill. So we really see it as a win all around. We were founded in 2016 by our current CEO, Josh Dominguez. And while we initially launched in Canada in 2019, we were able to expand to the United States, where we have a strong concentration in the Midwest and the Northeast. We are growing very quickly, but New York specifically, we're currently in up to about 150 stores through our two New York partners, Tops Friendly Markets and Stop and Shop. And in 2023 alone, we were able to save shoppers over $1 million in grocery store savings, while also diverting over hundreds of thousands of pounds from the landfill. And they're really exciting stats. I love talking about them, knowing how much we're able to divert and save our shoppers, but it's really just the beginning for us. We're always looking for new ways to innovate and provide an opportunity for people to purchase reduced price, affordable groceries. And one of those ways that we're working on right now, which I'm really excited about, is the acceptance of SNAP EBT through our platform. And Tops Friendly Markets was actually one of our first US partners to roll out that the purchase opportunity fully. So we're very excited to see that continue to roll through the rest of the United States. As I mentioned, we're also really passionate about making sure that everybody has the opportunity to utilize our app and have these deals. So we're constantly expanding to new locations, new geographies, new partners. So definitely keep an eye out for more locations. I think that about wraps it up for me.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. Joseph, go for it.
So my name is Joe Sellepack. Sellepack is just cell and a between the cell and the pack. Sellepack. It's kind of, it's one of those Slovak names that kind of gets harder to pronounce when you try too hard. Anyway, so the Council of Churches is the parent organization for the Greater Good Grocery. We've been active in food recovery and food pantries since 1976, when we first started the Chow program, and recovering food in 1985. So we've been in the food recovery, food distribution business for an awful long time. And so the Greater Good Grocery was our attempt at trying to address a more systemic problem. The north side of Binghamton was without a grocery store for about 25 years. And we decided, along with a whole slew of community partners, to begin thinking about how we could begin addressing food insecurity on the north side of Binghamton. One of the ways that we did this was by exploring other models of grocery stores that use recovered food. And I need to make this clear that the food that we recover in Broome County goes out free of charge to community food partners. So we have about 100 community food partners that we send food to on a normal basis. That food is in addition to what we sell at the grocery store. We do not sell the recovered food that we have locally. And the reason I have to make that important distinction is because we are a redistribution organization of the food bank. So the food that we give away has to be separated from the food. So the food that we sell comes in from distributors in and distributors like Denver Wholesale. There are a few others that are in the area, and Bargain Grocer in Utica is one of our suppliers. That food comes into the Greater Good Grocery, and then we are able to utilize it and sell it. We have about 2,000 customers per month that are visiting our store. We have a number of programs that are a part of that. If you look at like we have a free food giveaway that we give out on the last Wednesday of every month. Produce giveaway. People come in, they get a bag of produce for free. We also do SNAP double bucks programs. So if you come into our store, you buy $1 worth of food, it's matched by $1 worth of coupon you're given, and people are able to double their SNAP purchases. The majority of our food, some of it is new, some of it's recovered, but it's all being sold on the north side of Binghamton, reducing food insecurity and seriously helping an area of Binghamton that needed some additional help in order to make it. So, that says a little bit about who we are.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that very much. And thank you to all our panelists for being here today and sort of giving us an overview of what's going on in your world and the good work that you do. We are going to open up this time for questions and answers. If you have anything in the chat box, feel free to use that or raise your hand. There's a little icon on the bottom of your toolbar there. I was writing furiously over here, so I definitely have a couple questions that I can kick us off with, but I do want to just let our attendees know that we're more than eager to hear from you and your questions while we have our panelists here. So I think one of my thoughts that came up, I'll just start us off if this is okay, and this can be answered by anybody. I heard sort of the population of kids a couple times through this, but I guess personally speaking, for Seven Valleys Food Rescue, we're always looking for who can we connect food with that might be that underserved population, or maybe just an area that we aren't thinking of. And so I wanted to ask and open up the floor if there's any other sort of special populations or outside of the box ways that you've been connecting people with food. Dusky, I do know on your introduction, it said something about those with illness. And so I'm just curious as sort of that nuance work that is going on to get food sort of from point A to point B, or if you're like at greater good to help people to know that there's support there for them.
Well, I'll answer because you mentioned, I'll be the first to jump in. We share food so many different ways because what we glean may not work for all of the organizations that we work with. So if it's a hard to place item like persimmons or greens, where maybe a recipient wouldn't enjoy them as much and they would be hard to place, we take them to kitchens that prepare meals either for folks homebound with illness. We have a number of nonprofits here that deliver meals to either the elderly or folks with cancer, or folks when COVID was, when people were confining at home. But so we also take to kitchens that cook for the unsheltered. So if something is hard to place, like wouldn't be scooped up by an individual readily, we take it to chefs that would know how to incorporate it and make it delicious, because persimmons, make incredible tamales. But a lot of people don't know how to use a persimmon. So, or make really incredible barbecue sauce. So, basically we take hard to place things to kitchens, and we also work with low income housing to distribute most of those CSA boxes that I discussed, but we work with over 30 low income housing units in Sonoma County. So that helps us distribute things that are easy to distribute. And then we work with a number of organizations that serve specific directives, like a number of organizations that work with farm workers or work with Latinx families. So basically we try to hit all the needs by working with different kinds of partners.
I can tag onto that a little bit. I think we do something similar. We take the food that is more difficult for an individual to use, whether that's because it's bulk packaged or near the end of its life, or is something that's more difficult to break down. That would all go to our kitchen. So we're able to work further up the supply chain and take like a pallet of bulk packaged, meat or produce in a way that might be more challenging for a typical pantry. And then in terms of reaching different populations, a lot of it's about the partnerships that we have. We have a strong partnership with the city of Cincinnati. So we're working on becoming a bigger partner with them and their rehabilitative opioid programs, being a supplier of food to help people going through the recovery process there. Our food as medicine meals are tailored for individuals that are the sickest 5%, that really have trouble leaving the house. They may be homebound or they may have mobility issues. So that's a different population that we reach. And then our education program reaching different groups, whether that's children or just people interested in learning more about how to cook and so forth. But a lot of it's our partnerships. We've got a dedicated staff member who is working to build upon and strengthen all of the partnerships that we have on the Rescue Share side.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any insight or thoughts on the populations that you're serving that you'd like to share?
Yeah, one other thing I'll add in, we work a lot with community fridges, especially some odd donations we get posted on our platform. I worked at a restaurant, and that's kind of how I came into this work, was seeing how much extra food that we had at the end of the day, especially after a catered event. And sometimes it would be 11 p.m. and I'm wrapping up quesadillas, and it's like, I wish that there are some amazing food pantries that are open late, but it is a little unrealistic. So the uptick in community fridges that we've seen, especially since 2020, has been amazing for our network. And that way you can say, yeah, at midnight, you can go and drop off this food And that's also been really helpful on the other side. For a lot of people who experience food insecurity are working several jobs or working kind of odd or untraditional hours. So it can be really hard to get to a food pantry.
Yeah.
The food pantry is open maybe Tuesdays from like 4 to 7. Or something like that. So that's really been great, and something to keep in mind, people that can't access during normal business hours or during the hours that their food pantry is open. So just to have an alternative resource for this food, community fridges have been amazing.
So we have a brick and mortar store, which basically means that it is a store that is kind of, you can't move a brick and mortar store. Okay? It just sits there, and people have to come to it.
Yeah.
But coming online next month is our Greater Good Grocery bus. We will be taking the bus it used to be called our Chow bus, and those of you that may know a little bit about Broome County and hunger would know the Chow bus, but it's being rebranded and brought out as the Greater Good bus. Product that's available and the programs that are available at the brick and mortar store will be going out to various locations throughout the city of Binghamton, as well as the rural areas eventually, as we kind of get into the groove of what it means to do the food bus. So you can see pictures of that if you kind of look on either Chow's webpage or Facebook, and then the other one is through the Greater Good Grocery. You can see of it. That will be targeting areas where people have mobility issues, like senior centers, other kind of places like that, as well as going into neighborhoods where there is some kind of some geographical barrier for them to get to our brick and mortar store as well. And the prices that will be available on there will be things that they can't find in their area. So it'll be helping people really expand their budgets and make life a little bit easier for people.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm just going to we have a lot coming in the chat, which is awesome. Keep them coming in. And so I will turn to that, but I just want to give a pause and make sure that just so we can sort of wrap up this idea of maybe special populations or approaches. Just want to make sure that there's no other comments for that from our presenters. Okay, so as I am thumbing through, and thank you for your patience, all the chats that are going on right now. I do have a question about, this is for Joe. Is there a sliding scale at your grocery store?
We don't have a sliding scale. Like I said, we try to double up on SNAP purchases, but we do offer, like every person that goes to shop there, it's not just for people who live on the north side. I shop there I live up near Whitney Point. I know for some people it doesn't mean anything, but for those of us who live in Binghamton or around Binghamton, it's kind of a rural area in the middle of nowhere. But I shop at the store, so we don't have a sliding scale, but we do double up for people on SNAP, and then we also offer a program similar to what you would at some grocery stores, especially some of the old ones. We have a little punch card we give to everybody. And after they fill in 10 purchases at the store, we give them $10 in free. So it's a good way of incentivizing people to be able to come and spend at the store. But no, we don't necessarily have a sliding.
Thank you. All right, Callie, I have one for you here. How does Flash Food ensure product unsold in your kiosk that still is fit for human consumption can be donated?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I mentioned, we partner with different grocery stores across Canada and the US, and And most of our partners do have a donation program set in their store. So just like their markdown program, any of the stickers or their discount racks are flash food fridges and flash food zones follow the same model. So anything that is unsold, they run through the regulations specific to that grocer and determine whether or not it can be donated. And then each food item goes through the correct process, whether it be donation, compost, and hopefully unlikely the trash bin, but it's all based on our partners.
Thank you for that clarification. I'm also curious if anybody is doing grocery stores or otherwise within your programs, composting, or if it's unfit for human consumption, moving it then to farms and for animal feed as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We have quite a few partners that are tied with a variety of different composting programs. Some of them have just launched recently, and it's really exciting to see the numbers that are going down from the amount of trash containers that are being taken from their stores to now compost that's going to one source or another. So most of our partners are, if they're not already working with a composting system, bringing them online every single day.
Wonderful. Katie, would you like to, I see you unmuted. Do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, I was just gonna say, we work with some fun partners when it comes to composting our our meat that can't be served to people. We send, if it's unseasoned, to a wolf sanctuary or to 2 wolf sanctuaries that are close to us. So that's kind of fun. And then we have some partnerships with local farms for animal feed and composting.
Nicely done. That's really, Sammy, I see you're unmuted as well. Do you have anything to add? If not, it's okay.
Yeah, I wish we had something in New York, but we're working on it. But in New Jersey and hopefully getting up into New York, they're growing as well. We partner with another group called Unwaste Movement, and they do home pickups for compost, which is great. We've actually started partnering with them and having one driver do a route and having for their businesses, we don't accept food donations from individuals, but for their business partners, we do like one pile is food fit for donation and another pile is food fit for compost. So they have like a divider in the back of their van. One goes on one side and one goes on the other. So that's been a really great way for us also to reduce our costs, because we can just kind of have one driver driving the same route, picking up on both sides, which is great. And then one of our other really big partners, Sharing Excess in Philly, they have a dock in the Philly wholesale produce warehouse, and they have compost bins on site. So they sort through everything on site, and we send a lot of donations there to be sorted, and then we send it out to other groups in Philly, and they sort, and the majority of their product not fit for human consumption goes into chicken feed. So that's kind of how that, but they have these really big bins, and it's kind of smelly, but it's awesome, and a great way to, yeah, keep it out of the landfill.
Wonderful. I think in New York we have some very good upcoming things on composting, especially on the idea of food waste and sort of the food scraps with our new legislation that's implemented. So I know that that's a growing theme for us that we're very excited about. All right, so it's a 2-part question in the chat box, and you can feel free to answer half of it or both in tandem. And I'm going to direct this one to Desky. Why don't you start us off with this? So what are some of the upcoming projects that you're especially excited about, or what do you think is next for your work?
Well, I'm very excited about this. Let's see. This is the apple pear brandy that got released today. Today is the release date of this. And it's all of the 2022 harvest of pears. And it was kind of a save the food waste story, because the hard cider maker that makes this for us and has made this for us for 3 years. I'm like, how do I get this in focus for you? But the hard cider maker was going to make a pear cider, and they decided they weren't going to make it after it was all juiced and sitting in a big container for them. And so I went around town to a bunch of different cider makers, begging them to make a pear hard cider, and no one wanted to. So then I went down the road to all the distilleries and I got Spirit Works in Sebastopol to make this amazing thing. And I have to tell you, I'm not a fan of pears normally. This is the best reflection of fresh, bright pear. It's got lemon and sweet and flowers. It's so perfect for Thanksgiving, and so perfect for Christmas. So that's what I'm really excited about this week. But I am also very much excited about the Farms to Snack program that I started talking about, where we're exposing kids, getting kids on farms and seeing the lights go on when they get to try a strawberry that they've picked or a raspberry that they've picked, when the only thing they've ever had before is in a container from a store, and they like things that they didn't like before when they got to pick it and they taste it at its full vibrancy. They love tomatoes, they love snap peas. You know, I have kids shouting, "I want to marry snap peas," when they get to eat them for the first time. And just last week I did a salad class with a group of 20 kids, or actually 18 kids, from our most under-resourced neighborhood in Santa Rosa, through the Boys and Girls Club. And I first did a vinegar tasting with the kids of 7 vinegars, and then I gave them each a jar, and they got to make a label for their jar. They got to pick which vinegar they were going to do. Then we all made vinaigrettes, and they got to shake the oil and vinegar with the salt and pepper and a little bit of honey together. And then they got to taste all the ingredients that we had gleaned for the week that they could put on their salads. And they got to bust the jewels of the pomegranates. So I do that by cutting a pomegranate in half and then banging on the back with a spoon, and then the jewels rain through your fingers into the bowl. The kids were ecstatic about the pomegranates, and many of them had never had pomegranates before. And so the exposure and the light bulbs, and then the kids made salads mounded like this on their plates. And I also brought edible flowers that I had no idea if that would be a hit or a miss. But as I was leaving my home farm, I saw all the calendula and the borage and the nasturtiums, so I just grabbed them all. Every little kid was ecstatic about the bright colors, and whether they were boys, girls, like everybody was into the edible flowers. And the kids ate immense salads, and they were, you know, overjoyed, saying, "I want to make this at home with my family. Like, I love salad." So for me, I feel like so many adults say that kids won't eat vegetables, but it's if we engage them in a really fun, active way where they're making choices, they will eat it and love it. So that's what I'm really excited about now. We've done this program now for about 4 months, and it's all in development, and it's very exciting.
Wow. Will you invite me to the next time you have one of those activities? Because it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I also, Desky, since you've talked up your pear beverage there so well, do you have connections of if somebody was really interested in trying it, how that we could do that? If you want to, if there's availability of us to be able to buy that for say something like Thanksgiving, can you put that in the chat box or let us know how to do that?
So the pear cider, you would have to be in California because of liquor laws, but
Okay.
the hard cider, I think, can be shipped. So I'll put the hard cider maker.
Wonderful. That's perfect. All right. Does anybody else want to share anything that they're really excited about or doing next?
Yeah, I can share some things happening with Flash Food. So I did already mention a little bit in my intro about the acceptance of SNAP EBT as a payment method through our app. And that is really one of the things that I and our whole company is most excited about, knowing that we were originally started in Canada. They don't have a similar program as we do here in the States with SNAP and EBT. So when we launched here, the discrepancy came, you know, we have a lot of people that really could use our app and aren't able to utilize their payment method if they only have SNAP and EBT. So getting that across the line is something we're really excited about and really looking forward to getting all of our partners up and running with it. But on top of that, we know that transportation is a huge barrier to food access, especially noting that most of our partners are larger grocery retail chains. So if you're in an area that only has small grocers around, you might not be able to get to a store that has our app in it. So we are looking at ways that we can partner with delivery services so that we can make sure that if we don't have a retailer directly in your area, you're still able to utilize our app and get those reduced priced groceries. So that's something coming down the pipe that we are really looking forward to exploring.
Would anybody else like to share something they're excited about or that's the next item for them?
I already
Okay.
talked about the Greater Good Grocery Bus. So we also have the build a budding relationship with BOCES, which is it's an educational program in our area, and we are training kids about retail and how to work in a retail setting. That's a fun thing, and we have a lot of kids that are that wouldn't necessarily be viewed as sometimes productive because they're kids who have learning disabilities and other kinds of things like that. But yet when they come into the store, they are gravitated toward the cash register amazingly. And it's something that they can really work through, and they make amazing work done that way. And we're finding some really interesting relationships there. And also within our warehouse at Chow. So it's a pretty cool thing.
Great. Community, I'm just reminding, if you have any questions that you want to ask our panelists, plop them in the chat box or raise your hand with the icon, the little reactions icon that helps me see you. If you have anything, I definitely have a couple thoughts here. Katie, I'm wondering a little bit more about this Give a Crock program that you are involved with. Can you just speak a little bit more into that?
Sure. So our education team runs this program twice a year, and teachers at under-resourced schools select children to participate. And we have these great teacher contractors that go into the schools, and they start with basic cooking skills, so knife skills, how to be in a kitchen, measurement, things like that. And then over a 6-week period, the children learn how to make things like quesadillas or lasagna in the crock pot, starting with fresh ingredients, basically. So they get to take the food home, serve their family once a week during that period, and then they have the tools to make food for their family going forward. So it got started, one of our first partnerships when the soup started in 2015 was at a under-resourced school, and they were teaching cooking classes there. And the teacher was like, well, when you go home, you do this and you put the food in the oven, and here are your 6 steps or whatever. And one of the children said, well, my oven doesn't work, so I can't use it, so this isn't really helpful for me. And so that's how we moved toward a crock pot type model for that program.
Innovation, right? And meeting needs where they're at. That's wonderful. All right. I have a thought about challenges. So we've talked a little bit about excitement and sort of what's coming next and the things that we're sort of good at and that are knocking it out of the park, so to speak. But I'm also wondering about currently, this is a question for everybody. So feel free to, whoever wants to sort of take it first and start us off. What are you seeing right now that's sort of your biggest challenge around that food waste, food recovery piece and your programming?
I know somebody said it before, but transportation is a big challenge. It's very expensive, especially as we're getting more the past year. We've really gotten into the bulk world. And contracting drivers to make those trips can be several hundred or sometimes $1,000 or $2,000. So that really adds up. And that's been a big challenge to just be able to move a lot of that food. And we really try to share food with partners that have less resources, and getting them that food instead of groups that are really well funded. Well, we work with everybody, but trying to prioritize groups that otherwise wouldn't be able to get some of these donations. I know we work with Chow, and I think did a donation with you all last month, maybe. So yeah, it's great to have partners, but yeah, a challenge for us is definitely the transportation. And then one other thing I'd say, and I don't know if other people run into this, is getting some pushback from food businesses saying, oh, well, the health department's going to come after me if I try to donate. It's illegal to donate, which is not the case, but I think a really big misconception, and that I think prevents a lot more of our work moving forward and moving faster.
I would say that transportation is one of the biggest issues across the board, the rising costs associated with transportation and making sure that distribution is made. It affects the price of this, it's hard for people to understand this, but it truly does affect all the prices on all the products in the store. It'd be great if all that kind of trickled up or down to the consumers, that they had more money to spend, but it never does. So it's part of the struggle constantly trying to get good transport. The other big struggle for food recovery is as inflation comes in and people begin to, especially within the brick and mortar stores where we recover food, kind of like this isn't for the greater good groceries, it's more like for food recovery in general. When inflation hits, you start ordering better, if that makes any sense. So they have less food that will then enter into the recovered program because they're really paying attention to inventory. And so as a result, there's less food in the recovered food programs, and we end up having to find other means to be able to fill that gap. So we end up buying more food, which is a problem for the budget, as everything kind of goes together in that way. And then you end up with less food going into the recovery and more food that's coming in from the fresh side of things.
Yeah, I would echo what Joe was saying about inflation and the ordering system. So we all know that going into COVID, a lot of grocers were ordering tons of stuff because everybody was stocking up on the food, and they were needing to buy as many things as possible because who knew when you'd be able to get to the store next. And now coming into the new age of 2023, where that is not the case. Inflation is so high that people are flipping and are purchasing as little as they possibly can to stretch their food budget. And that might be by choice or might be because of restrictions of their food budget in general. So those different challenges, along with the supply chain of different systems not being as direct as they used to be, it's been challenging when it comes to making sure that we have opportunities to both go to donation and get onto our app on Flash Food.
I just want to add, in California, we had this bill called 1383 that was requiring businesses to not put food in landfill, and they have to prove that they are now sharing it with food recovery. And the system has had a very bumpy start because we don't have the infrastructure to do what the law is that was created. And so many of the nonprofits working in food recovery are describing going to grocery stores and essentially picking up what should be composted and doing composting instead of food rescue. And so I will just say that in California, although our legislation is very progressive, we haven't created the infrastructure to make it really work.
Katie, I see that you're trying to talk. We have no sound on you. Yeah, it says that you are unmuted, but we have lost sound on you. So as you are working through some tech with that, if something happens and you need to throw, oh, we lost her completely. That's all right. All right, we're just going to move on to, we'll sort of, this is a great question. Actually, it's in the chat. Thank you, Anna. For those of you partnering with restaurants, what suggestions do you have for forging those partnerships? So is anybody working with a restaurant right now?
Yeah, I'm happy to share a bit about this. We actually just got another restaurant partner that came from one of our drivers who is a frequent customer of this pizza shop. And I think that it's most successful when people are hearing from community members and their customers and people that live there. I can call people all day and say, hey, you should donate. And I've never been to the restaurant. They don't know who I am. So our driver, went into this restaurant, this pizza shop that she shops at frequently, said, hey, I donate or I delivered food donations all across Philadelphia. I'd love to work with you all and make this happen. And working with, the staff that are in the kitchen and the people that are handling the food, especially with some larger restaurants or chains. We've come into some, hit a couple brick walls trying to get upper management and people that don't actually see and interact with the food every day to agree to donating. But people that are actually handling the food, packaging it, people actually have to throw it away at the end of the night. Like that just sucks. So working with those folks that are actually in the kitchen, in the store, and saying, hey, we could set up a pickup. So now we pick up from them 3 days a week. And we just freeze the pizza so it stays good. But it's organic pizza, it's delicious. And they've been donating a ton because they make it fresh every day. So whatever they have at the end of the night, they freeze, save up for a couple days and then donate. So I would just say reaching out to your favorite restaurants and saying, hey, I'm a customer. I live nearby. I come here often. And this is something that's important to me and important for our community to share this extra food, especially with our neighbors that need it. And that's, been the biggest success. And also I would say for any restaurants that are concerned about liability, there's the Bill Emerson Good Samaritan Food Donation Act, which is just the biggest mouthful. From 1996 that basically any business is free from liability to donate. And then excitingly, in 2021, there's the Food Donation Improvement Act. So that's a lot easier to remember. But you can just, Google that and share that. ReFed is one of my favorite policy resources. They just break things down so simply. So I would suggest, going to ReFed's website and sharing that out as far and wide as possible.
Yeah, we found that restaurants and restaurant workers understand the value of food more than anyone. So if you share your story with them, you tell them what you want to do with the food, you tell them who the food is going to and why it's important to you. Communicating the story of the food that you're giving away is very important. It's they understand it, just like if you want to develop a relationship with food recovery, go to the truckers, go to the people who are distributing the food, because they understand food insecurity more than you would even imagine, and they know the value of that food for. So if you communicate your story, you make that connection, and you're able to tell it in a way that makes the restaurant person feel good about their donation. That's really important, and letting them know where it's going. I think that restaurant people more than anyone know what food is and why it's important to the world.
Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to follow up on sort of that restaurant? We did have another chat box item, and it was a little bit bigger. It was sort of along the same lines, but just connecting with individuals, or sort of as you think about connecting with your networks, right, to get the food that needs to be recovered or rescued. If anybody has any insights on sort of what they've been really successful doing. I did hear sort of a common theme that I hear not only in our sort of monthly meetings, but also with our personal experiences. Staff or sort of the workers are really interested in moving this food in this way that they're dealing with, but it's some of the higher ups or the corporate powers, it's a little bit harder to get involved. It takes a longer time. So if anybody wants to speak into sort of any of their wins and making some connections and what they did to do that.
I can share on the connections piece, and I think it might answer the question and it might not. So one of the things is ultimately panels like this, conferences like this, it's the best way to meet people that are engaged and care about the same issues that you do. There have been so many great relationships forged just by being in person together or virtually in person together that you just can't beat over with an email or a phone call. And then additionally, just insights on the best way to engage with local businesses, farmers, and individuals. I think something that is said all the time, but really needs to be reiterated is make sure that you're talking to the people that will be receiving whatever you are providing. So whether it be donated food or in our case, reduced price product, just making sure that you're staying connected with your shoppers, with the people that you are donating the food to, and that what you're giving them is actually providing value. And once you align with that, it will be very easy to stay engaged.
Thank you. Well, we're almost at time, but if there are any last minute thoughts from our panelists, now's the time to share.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Is that you,
Sorry.
Katie? That's okay.
That's
Let's get
me.
you. Yeah. Hi. Let's get you pinned real quick. Hi. So Anna will work on doing that, but go ahead while you're
Sorry,
waiting.
I called in for my phone and I think I made things harder. I was just going to say one of the things that we do to help bring on rescue partners is really communicate our standards and bringing them some of our product, showing them what we do and where it goes. And I think that really helps both on the standard side, making sure they're not sending us things that should really go to their compost partners. But also it motivates them to send us good product in time that's truly rescue. And then we continue to work with them in that way.
Thank you. Well, we are at 2:15. So on that note, I think we're going to wind down our session here. I just want to extend our great gratitude to each of you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us and just sharing all of your wisdom, experience, and really good ideas. We will connect all of our attendees, even those that couldn't make it today, with your resources and like web addresses and all of that good jazz so that they can also be inspired by the good work that you're doing. So thank you so much.